Welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Ladar Gavei-Lazi, and before we begin, we want to remind you again that for more of the best content from Israel, sign up today for our streaming platform, ILTV+. And now, coming up in today's newscast. For the first time since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Israel reportedly strikes targets in Syria overnight. The Russian invasion of Ukraine entering day 12 as hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians still attempting to flee the war zone. And thousands of Ukrainians fleeing the war making their way to Israel. Syrian state TV reported Israeli strikes on sites near Damascus early Monday morning, resulting in 2 civilian casualties and material damages. Syrian state media Sana said that the country's air defense systems were activated in the Damascus area to, quote, deal with Israeli aggression, end quote, at 5 a.m. Citing a military official, the Syrian report said the attack came from the direction of Beirut in Lebanon and said air defenses were able to down most of the missiles. This marks the first reported Israeli airstrike against targets in Syria since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and took place just one day after Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett flew to Moscow for a secret meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Russia maintains a close alliance with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's regime, but allows Israel to carry out airstrikes against targets in the country, primarily Iranian and Iranian-backed Hezbollah terrorist group targets. Israel's initial reluctance to choose a clear side in the Russia-Ukraine war was due in part to its desire to safeguard its right to conduct what it views are crucial operations in Syria for its national security. Also on Sunday night, the Israel Defense Forces announced that Israel shot down 2 Iranian unmanned aerial vehicles last year that were en route to the Gaza Strip. According to a statement released by the IDF, the 2 UAVs were intercepted in March 2021 by F-35 jets, marking the first time an F-35 aircraft was used to shoot down a drone. The interception was carried out prior to the UAVs entering Israeli airspace and in coordination with neighboring countries. The military also said the UAVs were detected and tracked along their flight route by ground control units. It's estimated that this was an attempt by the Iranians to use drones to smuggle weapons into Gaza. Iran has in recent years bolstered its use of drones in its military operations. It is unclear why the IDF chose to make the announcement 1 year after the incident, though it comes in the wake of the talks in Vienna to reach a new deal over Iran's nuclear capabilities. Following the announcement on Monday morning, Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz said that Israel must, quote, reiterate the warning that Iranian aggression, whether it emanates from Iranian territory or through Iranian proxies, is a threat to global peace and to regional stability, as well as a threat to the state of Israel. He added that Iranian aggressions is today conducted without a nuclear canopy, and should the Islamic Republic reach a nuclear threshold, it will become even more dangerous to world peace. The Russian invasion on day 12, with the humanitarian crisis in Ukraine only worsening, and an estimated 1.5 million refugees already leaving the country. And joining us now with more from the Ukraine-Poland border is Nati Langelman, Israeli Channel 14 correspondent for Ukraine and Eastern Europe. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So before we talk about the humanitarian crisis, I want to just briefly address the meeting between Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Israel reportedly attacking in Syria overnight. I mean, does this mean that relations between Israel and Russia are staying strong? I mean, was Israel's attempt to remain neutral perhaps the right move? I'd be happy to hear your thoughts on this briefly before we move on.
Well, as we understand it right now, it will take something very big and very unusual to stop the IDF secret activity in Syria, because as we know, for this day, after Bennett and Putin spoke several times, this activity is still going as we see, and we know that Israel will have to act very pro-Ukrainian, in a very pro-Ukrainian way to make Russia angry about what Israel does in Syria. And for now, this activity will move on. But what Bennett tries to do between the two sides, it's too early to say what will be with that, because we know the gap between the Ukrainians and the Russians is too big for Bennett to solve at this stage.
To watch full episodes of ILTV's Israel Daily and tons of other content from Israel, visit our website at iltv.tv or download the ILTV Plus app.